everybody. Welcome to Mary, Wieden, and You. Always a pleasure to have you along with us. Just think, let's see, 3 days from now, we'll be, it'll be 4 days from now when 3 days from now we get our new president, but 4 days from now when I'm here, the temperature will be about, 3? Something like that. I might have to wrap my pipes. You know how that is. You know what that means, folks? It doesn't mean you keep your pipes warm. If people think that's why you do it, it keeps the wind away from them is what it does if you have a lot of wind. But anyway, today we are going to have a cautionary show. I've been thinking about, all the fires in California and people don't have insurance. I was like, so let's get our insurance commissioner over here to talk about that. And let's get somebody from forestry to talk about that aspect too, particularly homeowners, like what we can do. So I want to welcome Mike Chaney, our state insurance commissioner, and in a little while you're going to meet Garron Hicks. He's the assistant chief of the state Forestry Commission. So, welcome, guys. Oh, and by the way, a couple of news items. First of all, go to the dog show this weekend. Please go to the dog show. It's going to be fabulous. I'm going down tomorrow. They're going to have close to 1,500 dogs. Are you kidding me? It's the biggest show they've ever had, the Magnolia Classic. And it is free, but if you'd like to donate $2 to the thing, fine. So they're fun to care for these animals. That's just fine, but it will be sensational. And we did that last week. We did that show. The other thing is today is a big honorary celebration for Jackson State, and boy, they deserve it for winning the Celebration Bowl. They absolutely. And the coach, Coach Taylor, a couple years ago when Prime walked out, I thought, well, those poor kids and, the whole thing's got to be, shut down. All this kind of stuff's going to be horrible. Coach Taylor has, look what he's done. It's been great. And there is a whole lot of stuff, but the big thing today is at 6 o'clock. It is the parade, and it's going to start at Pascagoula and State Street, and then they're going to follow like they do the big parade that we have every year. There's going to go to Capitol, and then over to West Street, and then they're going to wind back on to Pascagoula Street. It's just going to be a whole lot of fun, and everybody's going to be there. The team will be there. The coach will be there. Of course, going to be the Sonic Boom is going to be there. I mean, how can you not love all that stuff? So that's going to be a real fun thing. So hooray for them. Dog show and parade. Doesn't get much better than that. So welcome, guys. Okay, Mike Chaney. I had read something, and you corrected me on this, and so let's do this because I wasn't the only one to see this, that there were 15 states that were having insurance problems, and I presume they're talking about property insurance, obviously, and we were one of them. I said, well, what's going on there? So what is going on or not going on?
Well, the New York Times posted an article on January the 16th that said all of these states in the United States had insurance problems with cancellations. And you got a map, you can go look it up. But what they neglected to say was that in some states like Mississippi and Alabama and Georgia, we were able to replace the cancellations with other companies writing the policies. And then you look at why was it canceled. It was because the homeowners didn't like the new rates. So before we got on the show, you talked about millage.
Yes.
So here's what happens. The supervisors in the state of Mississippi reappraise a fourth of the property in every county every year. So every 4 years, everybody gets reappraised on property value. Well, the insurance companies have gotten smart, and we have to outsmart them sometime. They will use that appraised value to set the replacement cost of your home, and that raises your value up. And they do that by looking at the tax rolls. So they don't take into consideration you don't replace the land. So we argue with them. We don't regulate that. That's something they can do. So I'm pretty tough on them. I won't give them a rate increase, and they get mad about it. And it's a complicated deal. But the bottom line is Mississippi's got pretty good coverage, and we've got the rates are not good. I don't like the rates that we have in the state. Nobody does. So, my goodness.
Yeah,
it's hard.
They all think that we have all this money falling off of our trees. First of all, I don't even have any trees. They're not falling off of my.
You got a forester and an audience here.
That's right, exactly. Well, I've told them, I had 36 trees one time. For 10 years, I had 36 trees. And every time the wind blew, I'd be out there with my blower. So when we built this house, I said, no trees. so I put one for a while. But anyway.
So Mary, there was another piece of that article that talked about something called FAIR plans, and FAIR plans means fair access to insurance rates.
Uh-huh.
So that's all it means. Those are plans that cover not only wind and hail, but they cover homeowner insurance, and that's fire and casualty. In Mississippi, we have the wind pool that covers wind and hail on the Gulf Coast, and then we have, for the rest of the counties, something called the residual plan, where if you can't buy insurance anywhere else, the state of Mississippi will sell you a policy. It's bare bones, but it's a policy.
Well, you ought to have.
We have less than 5,000 people in that category throughout the whole state. So when you looked at the number of policies we have, Mississippi has the greatest decrease of the people in the wind pool of any state. We had a 46% decrease for states that have, say, more than 10,000 policies. So we've done a lot of things right in the state. What you see sometimes in the paper is kind of twisted to be in the favor of promoting what they want to believe, that rates are too high or you can't get coverage. That's not true in Mississippi. You can do that.
Well, you have to have it, and so many of these people out west didn't have any kind of insurance. They've lost a lot of companies.
Well, there's a reason in California. What happened, the fires in 2017 and 18 just burned out a lot of the major companies, like State Farm pulled out of the state for a while, and you had no coverage. And then you had the problem that somebody that bought a $500,000 house in California, say 15 years ago or 20 years ago, that house may be worth $3 or $4 million a day, because California's a crazy state sometimes. Yes. And they can't afford the insurance, because the insurance will go from a couple of $1,000s a year to $30,000 or $40,000 a year, and it's more than the mortgage payments, because the mortgage is still based on the original cost of the home. And you end up with a situation where most people just do not have coverage at the house. And that's a lot of the problem. We're looking at probably a $25 billion insured loss in California at a minimum, upwards to $40, maybe $50 billion. It could approach Katrina. And then when you look at the public properties that FEMA will have to cover, and you and I will pay for it through our taxes, make no doubt about it.
Yes.
It will probably approach $70 billion. But the trade-off of there, when they try to rebuild, you'll get taxes back. So it's what we experienced after Katrina. We'll come back. I think California will come back. Now, the key is to prevent that from happening again, and that's where your forestry man sitting right next to me on my right is going to talk about that.
But hold on. Before we do that, though, I just want to say you've got to have some sort of insurance. If you don't, you're left with absolutely nothing. And you may not like to pay, but I think, and I'm not shilling for the insurance industry, believe me, but you've got to have some sort of sensibility about it. And I know it's very difficult on the Gulf Coast, but it's easier for us up here. But you've got to have that. You can't just be left with nothing. And part of my preps part of it is that you've been always good on prepping. My thing is too that people were in the middle of the night. Oh, you got to go, and off they went in their pajamas and whatever. They had nothing, and so I'm thinking that if you have what the military or whoever is it called, have a bug out bag ready.
A bug out,
yeah. It doesn't mean that you have to sit there filling up this bag every day and wondering where your bag is. It just means that you should have a bag that you can scoop some stuff in a couple minutes. Put it by your meds or whatever it is that's important to you. Rugs or whatever, figurines, stuff like that. Have it near where you're going to put some things, and you can put those things in there in 5 minutes, and you can be ready to go. Terrible as that sounds, because we, like I say, we get warnings on tornadoes, we get warnings on hurricanes, but we don't on floods. 79, the big thing, and that's never been mitigated, has it? I mean, there's never been a solution to that one. But we have them from time to time, and even along I-20, a lot of people get flooded out all the time. So you need to be ready for it.
Well, same thing we tell people that if you got a catastrophic event coming, take your meds, know what your policies say.
Right.
So we call that in the fire areas. And by the way, Mississippi has wildfires. I think y'all going to talk about that.
Yes, we do. Yeah, we do.
You got a bug out bag. We call it a go bag that you can go to. Now we have these fireproof pouches that you can put your birth certificates and marriage license and whatever in that stays in your house. If it does burn down, at least you got a copy of it.
Where do you get those?
Well, you can buy them online.
Oh, you can through your office.
We don't supply those. Look,
but they'll tell you
on the budget that we got. We're lucky to be able to supply copy paper sometimes.
Well, so let me welcome Garron Hicks. You are the assistant chief state forestry manager. So these things all make a whole lot of sense to you, don't they? We're talking about getting ready. But I'm not alarming people. I just want you to be aware of what you have to have by way of insurance and stuff in your go bag, and let's be aware of what we have in our neighborhoods, in parks near us or any kind of trees near us, especially because, like Mike was saying, we do have fires.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's things, especially homeowners can do.
Yeah, I found out this one. What's a terrible thing to have in your yard is.
Yeah, I mean,
What
a lot of people use pine straw in their flower beds, and it's it's not a terrible thing, but there are better alternatives when you're wanting to look at better preparing your property and your home for the chance of a fire. Keeping your yard mowed. I mean, it's simple things that a lot of homeowners are probably already doing, but we don't think of it as in the term of, hey, this also benefits me in creating that defensible space that I need around my home to protect me from a wildfire.
Yes. So you recommend that people do for their own property what California doesn't do anywhere, and I hope we do this in Mississippi, which is like you got to clean the floor of your forested area. You don't want to do that, but you gotta do that because that's kindling wood right there. It's just
Yeah, it's fuel for a wildfire, and so and when you're looking at a forest land, we do a lot of prescribed burning in Mississippi. We're probably one of the top states in the
What
nation.
does that mean, prescribed burning?
So those are controlled burns that we do on our forest lands, in the understory of our timber stands, and we do that for a couple of reasons. One, it's fuel reduction. It's to reduce that fuel load to mitigate the chance of a wildfire occurring. But then there's other benefits, wildlife benefits. Any wildlife biologist you talk to, they're going to promote prescribed burning because it promotes native vegetation to come in. The deer, the turkeys, the birds, everything, love prescribed burn. And it's also great for forest health. The trees, our trees here in the South, they're adapted to fire. Fire's been on the landscape for hundreds.
How do they get adapted to it?
It's just the species. Pine trees, that's how they can withstand.
Grow strong bark or something.
Yeah,
that's what it sounds like
that's
almost.
Exactly.
But they do.
Yeah.
Put on extra bark?
That's the way they're made. The bark, is a little thicker and can withstand the heats of those controlled fires that you put through there. And so, you're taking out the undesired species to help promote the growth of those that you want and things like that. So fire plays is a great benefit on the landscape when it's done correctly.
And you, Mr. Insurance Commissioner, also the fire marshal of the state of Mississippi, so this applies so much to you, too, doesn't it?
Well, it does. And, we work very closely with the Forestry Commission. They're the ones that call. If we got a statewide burn ban, they work with us and we work with them. We have to enforce what they come up with sometimes. But I want to go back to talking about prescribed burns.
Yeah.
Where you have prescribed burns, you do not have pine beetles.
That's right.
So now I don't know how you're going to do that in Madison County or down in the capital area where you got a lot of pine beetles. But if you have prescribed burns, you just do not have pine beetles. And the reason is just what your forestry has told you here. It kills the pine beetles. It's a natural occurrence. It's been going on for thousands of years, and we still have pine trees.
Yes.
Well, and like I said, it just promotes, good forest health. Another cap I wear is I'm the forest health coordinator as well. So I do try to preach that message a lot.
I got 4 caps going on.
But yeah, so promoting healthy forests reduces the chance of forest pests coming in and invading the stand and things like that. So, like I said, there's a whole host of things. Good fires prevent bad fires. That's what we always tell landowners and homeowners.
That's interesting. People probably think, well, I don't need to do that. And I'm not going to take away my pine straw. I'm not saying me. I'm saying I in general. But
let me bring up something here, Mary. When you talk about pine straw, we tell folks that do landscaping, do not put a burnable material right up against your house. You don't do that. We had a case in Starkville, Mississippi, MSU, at a place where we had apartments. People had a party, and somebody thumped a cigarette butt over a very well landscaped apartment complex and caught on fire. We were able to save the building, but it's just typical. And we had a door bang. Somebody had a ring on the door across the street, so you saw the whole thing on television how it started. Yeah. But that's the reason a good landscape group, like the ones you have here in Jackson, will keep that burnable material away from the home.
You can put it, how far away? Like you can put it, if you put it, a foot away from your house or more than that? What would you say?
Yeah, you just want to give
just don't smack it up.
Yeah, you don't want it, especially if you have like a house with siding on it. You don't want it right up against that siding where it could catch that siding on fire. Because what a lot of people don't understand. When you see a lot of homes destroyed by wildfires, a lot of times it's not that wall of flames that catch that house on fire. It's those embers that fire is throwing out in front of it, and those embers, they fall into that pine straw. Or, if you got, your gutter's full of leaves and pine straw, can drop in that gutter and set that on fire. Or if if your house is under a bunch of trees, you got pine straw or leaves collected on your roof.
Well, also I was trying to think of, I remembered it just now. Weep holes. Houses have, if it's brick, I guess. Anyway, a lot of houses, most of my. Weep holes, you have to keep things away from your weep holes, and you all can explain. I forget what they do, but they keep
they keep the moisture out between the barriers. And I think our forester friend here just brought up a good topic, the fact that in California the houses that you'll see, 30 houses destroyed and 2 still standing.
Yes.
Those houses had covered up the ventilation at the attic because most of the houses burned from the inside out instead of the outside in, and that's because the embers went through the attic and caught the material on fire. So there are some new systems now that California, that you'll see that we keep up with fire suppression. That's part of what we do at the Fire Academy, and you'll see systems today that have high vacs that will put these embers out. And those are the houses that you see that have survived in California. It's not necessarily the garden hose that have kept them alive and standing. It's been the fact that they knew what to do to keep the embers out of the attic.
How effective are the planes that drop water or fire suppression stuff?
Very effective.
The pink stuff is what they're talking about.
Well, the pink is so they can see where they drop it. But it's basically ammonium phosphate and an iron compound. Yeah. That's all it is.
And I heard that the state turned down some Canadian people, I guess it was, because they had something that would hurt a fish in the ocean. So they said, no, you can't come here and put that down. Do you know what I'm talking about? Something ridiculous like, oh, well, okay, gee. I believe in taking care of the environment and taking care of animals and all that kind of stuff. But I think that property and life would take precedence over a fish.
Well, the only thing I think it'll hurt a fish is a hook. Take him out of the water.
Yeah, really. And also I'm thinking, so you protect that fish, but somebody's going to come along and catch it the next day and kill it and eat it. Mike Chaney, you've got to go.
We've had a cybersecurity event that we've got people talking to at Mississippi State.
Yes, I know. I had Shelley Hollis she's in charge of that up at Mississippi State. She was on the show the other day, and it's a wonderful thing to go to. It's at the refuge.
We got to protect your data and everybody else's data. So that's what we do at the department.
All right, be prepared, and if you have questions about insurance, you call the State Insurance Commission.
Always call us 1-800-562-2957.
Say that again.
1-800-562-2957. 2957.
Okay.
We're there to help you.
Thank you very much, Mike Chaney.
Always a pleasure.
Back in a few minutes. At least you didn't play Come On Baby Light My Fire. I was expecting something like that. Welcome back to Mary Wieden. What happened was, why I was moving like that is because I dropped my reading glasses. I couldn't find them anyplace, and they're on the floor. And then I had to scooch the chair over, and that was not an easy thing to do.
I had no idea what was going on. I thought you had something to display over there. I'm like, I got to move a camera.
No, I spotted them, and I moved this chair, and it doesn't slide very well. Well, that does better. Anyway, welcome back to Mary Wieden and You. I have not given out the numbers. We are at 888-808-8637, which none of you ever use, but I give it out anyway. You can text us at 601-879-4395. And I don't have the board, but, sometimes I can find it over here if I hit one of these little icons. Anyway, and we live stream supertalk.fm/Mary, so you can always see us that. So this was wrong, what I've been trying to do. If we get anything, please let us know, okay?
I sure will, yes.
Because I can't pull it up. I'd spend all day long. So this insurance commissioner has left us. He's had someplace that he has to go. And we are joined, and he's still staying with us, Garron Hicks. He's the assistant manager of the Forestry Commission. So that's a big job. And I appreciate you coming down here to do this.
No problem. Glad to be here.
We've been doing it. It's informational, what you need to do. We get warnings about hurricanes and about tornadoes, but we don't necessarily get that either. But we don't get them about floods, like North Carolina. And look what has happened to those people out in California. It's like there's been a lot of negligence on the part of the state. How can you have dry reservoirs and not do anything about it? And how can the people not get worried about that kind of stuff? A lot of people don't have insurance because it's prohibitively high. And a lot of people have a lot of lush gardens and stuff like that. And that's all nice, except when you have a situation like this. And they should know better, and living out there in the Santa Anas and all that kind of stuff. And we do have fires in Mississippi, forest fires, don't we? In spite of doing all the things that you do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, we do have wildfires. Typically on an average year, our agency responds to around 1,500 wildfires a year.
Wow.
And that's just our agency. That's not counting the ones that the volunteer fire departments go to. That's just what we respond to. So I mean, we do have them here in Mississippi. And they range in size. Average fires usually around 20 acres. And so, when I'm talking to people and kind of put that in perspective, an acre is about the size of a football field. So if you think about, an average size wildfire in Mississippi is about 20 football fields. So, they can be bigger fires.
Do you contain them, or do they burn themselves out, or is the property area not as large, or how does
we go in, we use bulldozers. You'll see our trucks, we carry bulldozers around, and we go in and, depending on the situation, if we can use, natural barriers like, roads or creeks or anything like that, we will. But if not, we'll use a bulldozer to go around and put a fire lane to try to contain that fire. We also do a lot of fire. People don't realize this, but we do a lot of firefighting with fire. So we fight fire with fire. So
how does that work? I don't understand that.
So when we're going in, putting that containment line, in around that fire with that bulldozer, we're going behind that dozer and lighting what we call a backing fire. So we're lighting it from that line, and we're burning out that fuel between that containment line and the actual fire. So we're cutting off its fuel before it gets to that line.
Okay.
So you don't run in a chance of it, jumping over that line or spotting over and continuing to go.
Has this year been, and this year was so droughty. We've been droughty in the last few years. Has it been, is that why we have 1,500 fires to speak of, or is that natural occurrence?
So like I said, that 1,500 fires a year isn't a typical year, when you have. But like when we went through the fall of 2023, as we went through a really severe drought. Now that kind of changed things a little bit as far as So between July and January of that year, we had over 1,700 fires just in a 6-month span there.
Wow.
So dry conditions, you're going to see more fires.
Well, when it's like that, do you have crews out cleaning the floors of fires? And I don't know what other terminology to use, but literally cleaning up kindling, raking it, or doing whatever you do to.
So like I said before, a lot of the way that we do wildfire preparation and prevention is through conducting control burns for private landowners across the state. And so we do a lot of that throughout the year. During those kind of conditions, we're not doing any kind of burning during those kind of conditions,
right.
Because, we're encouraging nobody to do any kind of burning because the conditions are just so excessive that the chance of a wildfire is very high. And so, you don't want to be intentionally setting any type of fires at that point.
Do people pay attention to that, or they go, I'm going to throw my cigarette down and I don't care?
I think, some people do, and some people, there's things that they don't realize that contribute to, what we call high fire danger days. Everybody thinks wind.
Right,
of course,
exactly.
Wind is a big contributing factor. Low humidity. A lot of people don't think about,
we have it so rarely.
Yeah, exactly. But if you've got a day where, you're forecasted to have high winds and the humidity's low, that day is typically a high fire danger day. And we expect, to see an uptick in fires that day. So as an agency, we're always monitoring that, looking at that, and prepare as best we can for that. So, if we see, in the upcoming days, the fire weather is kind of steering towards, that event, then, we'll make sure that, our people are in place and ready and prepared, so when fires do start popping off, that we can respond to them in a timely manner.
And people who live in their own yards, I was thinking of this house we lived in before we built this one, which has no trees, thanks to me, because I didn't want them, is that the one with the 33 trees. I would imagine that we probably should have been really concerned about stuff when we had bad weather like that. We never think about it. But if you do have a yard with stuff like that, it would behoove you to clean that stuff up. I mean, yeah. I kept it clean, but a lot of people just don't, it's over there, I don't have to be bothered with it. But you do, don't you?
Yeah, I mean,
Do you go to people's houses if they call you up and say, somebody calls them, what do you think I'm going to do about these trees or whatever?
Oh yeah.
Can you do?
Yeah, we go out and we will visit with homeowners, landowners, give them recommendations, advice. We have a program called Firewise, and so we have a Firewise coordinator with our agency, and what he does is he works with homeowners and communities and helps them develop and design wildfire preparedness plans, for that community or for that homeowner, and goes over a lot of stuff I talked about earlier, about, hey, could we do something different in the flower bed versus pine straw? Could we use this type of mulch, that type of mulch?
Yes.
Are your gutters clean? If you have a wooden deck, making sure it's clean. That there's no leaves, pine straw on that. Where are you stacking your firewood if you have a fireplace?
That's
you'll
a good
see
one.
people sometimes stack it right up against the house. We might want to move that out away
That'd be
from
dumb
the
for
structure.
termites. I mean, people would be dumb to do
Yeah.
that, but you get termites right there in addition to everything else.
Right.
But,
It's things like that. That everyday people don't. You don't
We don't
think about
it,
that
yeah.
kind of stuff. And so we go out, look at it, and kind of give pointers and some recommendations on things they can do. Because like I said earlier, at the end of the day, you want to create that defensible space around your home. Especially to give firefighters a chance if they do have to come out to be able to protect and save your home. Another big issue is driveway. The size of your driveway. Is your driveway big enough for a fire truck to get down in
Mine
there
is
to your house?
gargantuan, but yes.
We've ran into cases where people like to put gates out there in the driveway, which is fine, but do you have enough space between that for a fire truck to get in there to your house? Making sure that your 911 address is clearly visible so we can find you, if we need to. So.
Yes, sir. You got a question,
Well,
Lance?
we had a question from one of our listeners from the 601. It says, how do you set up a controlled fire on private land, and what is the average cost? Kenneth in Clinton wants to know the answer to that.
Yeah.
Good question. Thanks.
So, as far as to set it up, they can contact, their local area forester through our agency. You can go to our website, mfc.ms.gov. And up at the top right-hand corner, there's a contact button, and you can search by county to find your area forester. You would just contact them, and they would come out, do a site visit on your property. Look at what you got. First, make sure that something that can be burned. Because there are if it's a young pine stand, you won't want to burn that right now because it's not big enough. If you put a fire through that, you could just kill or damage the stand. So, the forester will know what to look at to see if the fire is suitable for that site. As far as cost, it ranges with our agency. We charge $25 an acre to do the burn. But we also have different programs that can help landowners with the cost of doing controlled burning. We have some cost share programs and things like that.
We had in my neighborhood, but I think the owners couldn't have been blamed for this. Gosh, many years ago. I don't know if it was like earlier on in the century, in the 2000s, we had a Ford F-150 blow up in somebody's garage, and it took the house down. But that was happening across the country, and it so happened in my neighborhood. And in the night, you hear this loud boom, get up and look, and here it is. This was before a house was built in front of it, so we could see it right out the window. And my husband knew exactly what it was. He said, "Oh, the guy had a Ford F-150." He didn't even know that, but it was in the garage. It was white. So true enough, that was. And they rebuilt the house. They took it. It was down to the foundation. And so they rebuilt it. Then about 2 years ago, maybe a little over 2 years ago now, somewhere in there, a house down the street had a lithium battery in a golf cart that blew up, or whatever they do, explode, whatever, took the house down. And it went from the garage all the way through the house. And they got out okay. Everything was fine. They had 3 little kids, and everybody was fine. But they're having to rebuild the house. And you have to be. It's like, do we have to be careful with what we buy?
Right.
Well, you said something earlier about the little hoverboards that kids play with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They have lithium batteries too. Well, why would somebody let their child on something like that?
Yeah. It's
You wouldn't let your kids near them, right?
right. It's you just got to watch, and you got to just make sure that you're paying attention to what's going on around you. Like with that hoverboard, I would always tell my kids, if you're going to charge it, you charge it while somebody's here, watching. We didn't leave it plugged in off by itself because
Well, there's a good tip right there. If you're going to have these things, well, first of all, maybe you should plug it in your garage.
Yeah.
if you got a plug in your garage, most people do, and then and watch it, and then undo it. Don't say, oh, that's good, I'll just leave it in. You can't do that,
Right.
can you?
That's right.
Wow,
So-
that's a terrible thing.
So, and like I said, and that same mentality goes with making sure preparing your house and your home and your property for wildfire. Just little common sense. On things. Is like I said.
It's a good idea. I'm just thinking we have to have them on our boats. We have to have fire extinguishers on our boat. But gosh, ought to have one in the house. Better than just a thing. Wow.
Yeah.
Does cold weather, getting some terrible cold weather in here next week, does that have any bearing on fires at all? Does it make it more prone, or does it depend on this whole business about humidity and whatever?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not so much as far as it affects fire behavior, but we can at times see. Have a few more fires here and there because maybe people are out. Yeah, like to be out, burning, have a campfire or things like that. That they like to sit around to keep warm, and they get out and start a fire. So
we'll be back a couple minutes. Mary Wieden and you on SuperTalk. Well, that reminds me, I'll have to put Lance on highway duty next Tuesday. If we have any precipitation, please let me know, because you come in here a couple hours before. Well, what time do you come in here?
Early.
Well, what's early?
Before the sun. I get here about 5.
5, okay. So I go out on, and you use Spillway Road, and I go out on Spillway Road at about 8 o'clock, a little bit before 8 o'clock. So, there's time if there's any snow or ice, because I won't do it. I don't know how to drive on ice, and neither does anybody in Mississippi. I mean, at least up north, you could have, I don't think you can have studded tires anymore, but you can have chains, and you can have salt. It does a heck of a lot better job melting ice than sand does. I got news for you. Sand and slag, they don't do a whole lot of good. So anyway, we just have to keep our eyes open for the weather. Now on TV they're like, oh, it's gonna be but I was just looking at the weather this morning on my cell phone, and it was nothing. It's like, well, no big deal. It's just going to be cold. It's going to be our big thing next week, and maybe some wind. And so this is in the studio with me. It's Garron Hicks. Is your last name? Garron Hicks. I'm sorry. He is the assistant chief at Forestry Management. We've been talking about just cautionary things like to be smart about things. We're not going to have fires like they have, we hope, in California. We don't know. We hope that will never happen. And we don't want small fires wrecking our houses either. Right. So there are things we can do in our yards that would be smart. And, keep your trees, I guess you should keep them trimmed as well. Right. This is another thing. This is the whole thing about trimming trees. You have to do that because they can catch in a red-hot minute, can't they? Yeah.
I mean, properly pruning your trees. That's, I talked about the Firewise program earlier. That's another aspect of that program is teaching and talking to landowners about proper pruning of trees and bushes. Firewise, I think, recommends, pruning up to 4 to 6 foot. So that way, if a fire does come through, you've got those limbs and things up high enough where, hopefully the fire won't catch them on fire and spread the fire even more.
Well, I'm good on bushes, but I just whack them short. I don't want to know how many bushes I have. The green stuff, I got the poodle bushes, as I call them, a whole bunch of those and some other stuff. I don't know. I'm sure there's more than 100. It's probably, hopefully less than 200. I just don't want to know, but I do whack them, and try to keep that stuff as clean as I can. Yeah. That's hard, but, I'm a pine straw princess. I'll give you that, but I do have to I always keep it away from the house though, because of weep holes as well. Right. I've conditioned to worrying about it. But if people are overdoing it and they want to know something better besides pine straw, what do you recommend that's it's attractive and not so it's not necessarily fire? Well, I guess it would be fireproof, wouldn't it? What do you recommend?
So I mean, I've seen people use the rocks, like the color, the white looking rocks in their flower bed. Using like a hardwood type mulch that you can wet that stuff down. It kind of holds moisture, stays, things like that. That they can use.
What do you have around your house?
Who, me?
Yeah.
So I actually have a mulch, the hardwood mulch.
You do?
So,
okay. Does that last long? I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. My wife hates the pine straw. So
and she's the one who does all the yard work. Right? Yeah. You got all those acres, and she wants to do it.
Yeah, she loves it. That's why we like living in the country. So doing that kind of stuff.
What kind of riding mower does she have?
It's a 0 turn, so she.
It zips right around.
Oh yeah, she loves it.
Well, what about weed eating or carving out around the edges. What edging? Does she have edging or things like that to do? That she does. You have to get out of your machine to do that, though. I think.
Yeah. She just rides a lawnmower. I have to handle everything else.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's cool because I don't mind mowing, except my main mower that I have. I didn't want to have. We always had help, and I did not want to have a gas. Oh, this is another thing. I don't want to have a gas lawnmower in my garage, for heaven's sakes. That's crazy if you ask me. But people do it all the time. You respond, that'll get a fire going as quick as anything.
You just want to make sure that you have, anything with gas or your gas cans, things like that in a well-ventilated area. If you've got a storage shed, that's probably better than having them in your garage. But, I know some people that's their only option is to put it in there, but just making sure it's well ventilated, away from any kind of open flame. If you have if your hot water heater is in your garage, make sure that your gas cans or anything like that are away from that. Especially if it's an open flame or gas hot water heater, just keeping it away from that kind of stuff.
I'm thinking of boat. 5-gallon containers for boat gas. Mm-hmm. Of course, generally you don't leave it full of gas. Generally, you put it in your boat. Right. But except for a time when you maybe you've already filled it up and you got a half a can left or something like that. But I think most people use them. That's not so bad. But this electric mower does a nice job, except you get electric wires, orange cords all over the place. But it's safe. I just can't see leaving a gas lawnmower in a garage. I mean, to me, that's insane in the summertime anyway. Yeah. That's crazy. What drew you to forestry? What is it that attracted you to that?
So, obviously the most common answer you get from any forester, if you ask them that, is the love of the outdoors. I love to be outdoors. I grew up hunting, fishing, and I just when I went to college and I was trying to decide on what I wanted to do, I said I just can't see myself sitting behind a desk 5 days a week 8 hours a day. I like to be out, and I like to interact with people, and I like to help people, and so. I got to looking at the forestry, and I growing up, I actually was born and raised in North Louisiana, so there's a lot of forestry activity going on there. So I knew a lot of people already in the business, in the industry, and so talking to them, I really kind of sounded interesting, and so that's kind of the path I took. And then when I come over and started working with the Forestry Commission, that's kind of when I got into the fire aspect of it as well, and really enjoyed that type.
It must be heartbreaking to watch what has gone on in California. For anybody, let alone a forest fighter, a firefighter. That's because what wasn't done, and what happened, why that happened. And then you see, wow, I was seeing some stuff yesterday. There's apparently these. I don't know how these things are set up because I've been to L.A., but I haven't explored the mountains or anything like that, or in the hills and whatever. But apparently, there are various levels. I mean, it's not an easy place to negotiate business up in there.
Right.
I've seen some handwork being done. I'm thinking, how in the world do you handwork all of that? But they do scrape, literally handwork that, right?
Yeah. You have crews, fire crews that go in, and we actually. With our agency, we will send crews out, west to fight fires. Have
you sent some people out to California? By the way?
We have not. We don't have any crews there right now. But if they call and make the request, I know I've heard our state forester say that we'll answer the call, and that's that's kind of the unique thing about the especially the wildland firefighter world realm. It's we're all here for everybody.
Sure.
We got each other's back. We'll go assist anybody that we need to or can, and I think they would say the same for us.
I think so. What I was seeing was it looked like the firefighters were using hose and rakes. Mm-hmm. That's about what they were using to kind of chop it up and then rake it off. That's important equipment for you, right?
Yeah. I mean, because you can't up in the mountains, you can't get like I told you earlier here, we use bulldozers, things like that. Well, it's it's hard to get those bulldozers up in the mountains and places. It's boots on the ground, putting in a hand line, to try to contain that fire.
Where do you? It seems to me I heard the other day there was this can't be right, 8 mile long hose connection that somebody put. That can't be. What? Bunch of hoses for 8 miles?
Yeah.
That is possible?
Yeah.
Lord.
I mean, they out west fought fire there for years, and so they know what they got to do to.
Well, they know what they got to do. It's too bad the state doesn't see that it's done. I think it will from now on. There'll be a lot of lessons learned there. And also they were using I forget the terminology, a scooper boat. A scooper boat that was zooming through the ocean, saltwater ocean, scooping up water to put on the fires. I don't understand that because that's salt water. How can you do that? Well, maybe more water than salt. So
yeah, I mean, probably its closest resource, to the fires, and that's why they were using it. I guess, I'm not sure.
Have you ever seen anything as vast as what's going on out there, or half vast as half as horrible as that is? Anything really awful like that?
I mean, as far as here in Mississippi, no, and like I said, I think it's because we do a good job, of mitigating wildfire prevention here in the state. Like I said, with the prescribed burning that we do in the state, and landowners, in the state, we have 19.2 million acres of forest land, and of that is, I would say, probably roughly 70% is owned by private non-industrial landowners. So, private landowners own the majority of the forested land in this state, and so a lot of that land, is able to be managed and managed in the right way that in turn helps with wildfire prevention.
Well, what happens to we've got some national forests. Do you deal with them, or is that up to the feds to deal?
That's going to be the U.S. Forest Service.
Okay, yeah. U.S. Forest Service, and they strictly do that.
Yeah.
So when you go up to trace and see anything, that's them.
That's federal.
Well, that's sort of handy, I guess. I mean, are they doing a good job? You have to. What if they're not? That's not your, not the state's responsibility. But
right.
what if you, like, you're going up and you go, hey, why is that like that? Can't do anything about that, but you can sure as help people, right?
That's right.
Okay, once again, because we're out of time, we got to get out of here. What's a good line to call, or a good website for people who need some help with managing their own forested lands?
Yeah, they just go to the agency's website. That's mfc.ms.gov. Gov.
And you get all the help you want, right?
Get all the information on all of our programs, anything like that.
Garron Hicks, thanks an awful lot. Been delightful having you with us.
Thank you.
Good luck. All right, everybody. See you next week, I think. Oh, it's freezing cold. Oh, go to the dog show and go to the parade tonight. Go to the dog show down to Trademark. See ya. Bye-bye.